the quarterbacks. Nothing will define this age gap between 43-year-old Tom Brady and 25-year-old Patrick Mahomes better than this. And it's a credit to Greg Giroux for pointing out this 2005 newspaper clipping from the Tyler Morning Telegraph in Texas, quoting a 9-year-old Mahomes picking Andy Reid over Tom Brady's Patriots in Super Bowl 36 by saying the Eagles are a better team. Now, Brady proved the 9-year-old wrong. Can he do it again? Sal Paolantonio on why Tampa Tom looks familiar to many in New England.
When Tom Brady is waiting for the snap, surveying the field, it all looks very familiar. And why not? This Bucs team he has brought back to the Super Bowl is a near mirror image of those championship teams in New England.
The Patriots are Super Bowl champions! The greatest comeback in Super Bowl history!
6 Super Bowl championships.
Look closely. You can see Corey Dillon and LeGarrette Blount morphing into Leonard Fournette.
Fights through a tackle, gets a block on the right side. Touchdown Buccaneers! Fournette refused to go down.
Scotty Miller, he's running routes in the middle of the field like Julian Edelman or Wes Welker.
Scotty Miller coming across the middle.
And of course, Gronk is Gronk.
Allowed to the end zone. Touchdown Tampa Bay! And that New England combination now in Buccaneer pewter and red.
And starring in the role of Randy Moss, Mike Evans.
From a physical standpoint, both big bodies and big catch radiuses, great body control, great understanding of the game, feel, instincts.
And just like in New England, Brady likes 2 tight ends and 5 wide. This is no accident. Bucs head coach Bruce Arians said after advancing to the NFC Championship game that he gives Brady a lot of freedom to coach.
Well, Tom really hasn't changed. When you've been there and done it, guys just follow you. He knows this is far from being finished.
And of course, down in Tampa, they're looking for one more comparison. Hoisting another Lombardi trophy.
He's redefining football in your 40s. Tom Brady has still made the difficult throws in Bruce Arians' vertical offense, including the postseason. Brady's 13 touchdowns on throws at least 20 yards downfield, ranked second in the league behind only Aaron Rodgers. On tight window passes defined by next gen as less than 1 yard of separation, Brady has a league-high 11 touchdowns after throwing 5 all of last season. And his 40 completions on such passes trails only Ryan Tannehill. And Brady has cashed in on fade routes as well with an NFL best 11 touchdowns, 5 more than any other quarterback. His 23 completions targeting fade routes tied with Aaron Rodgers for the most in the league. Talking about Aaron Rodgers, potentially the MVP of the league, Super Bowl champ. Ryan Clark joining us now. So at the age of 43, getting ready for his 10th Super Bowl appearance, what is it about this version of Brady that has impressed you the most, Ryan?
His ability to adapt, his ability to lead. I think a lot of times when you think about his tenure with the New England Patriots, we thought about his leadership, but not the fact that he can coach, not the fact that he can understand how to adapt to a new scheme, how to work with different players in the manner that he has. This offense is totally different from anything he ever ran in New England, but he understands when the run game is important, how to use Leonard Fournette in the pass the same way maybe a James White, but also spreading the football around on different levels of the field to so many different players. And when things weren't going well, you look at the Saints game, the Kansas City Chiefs game, and then they had to switch. They had to morph into something Tom Brady was more comfortable with. That's when this team exploded down the stretch of the season, and now they're in the Super Bowl.
You mentioned the Saints. You mentioned adapting and adjusting. That leads us to our next story. The Saints, they've got some big decisions to make about their future, including a quarterback, as Drew Brees has yet to make an announcement. But the belief is that he has played his last game. So while the team is coming off 4 straight NFC South titles, GM Mickey Loomis faces the possibility of being close to $100 million over the salary cap. Here's Loomis today.
We've got a great roster, and I can't foresee a circumstance where we're not going to say, man, we're going to do everything we can to win now, and compete for a championship. We don't yet know what the cap's going to be next year. We've got a lot of planning to do. We haven't completed our evaluations, our roster evaluations from last season. So at this point in time, there's more unknowns than there are knowns.
Back here with RC and Ryan, looking at hypotheticals. Okay, let's just say Breeze does retire. Can this team contend with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill at quarterback, or do they need to bring someone else in as they don't plan to rebuild this year?
Well, they absolutely can't do it with Taysom Hill. I mean, we saw what it looked like in 4 games. It was actually descending as we got to the Philadelphia Eagles. And so that leaves Jameis Winston. Now, I thought it was a great plot and employ by Sean Payton to not play Jameis. You didn't want him to go 4-0. You didn't want him to look great. You didn't want him to fix the turnovers, because then maybe you lose him like Teddy Bridgewater. And so if you've seen enough from him in practice, if Sean Payton believes he can dial back some of the turnovers and get the good of Jameis Winston, who's a former first overall pick, then I think you roll with him. Also, think about some of these cap casualties that they're going to have. You're not going to have the capital to go out and get one of these big name starters. Sean Payton is a miracle worker. We've seen him do it. Now he'll have to work his miracles with Jameis. And if that works out, you'll get yourself a good quarterback and you'll have an opportunity to contend in the NFC South.
Ryan, that's next level chess playing right there on not playing Jameis Winston, and maybe see if you can keep him next year. We'll see if that happens. I'm fascinated by that scenario. Ryan, thank you so much. Let's go to the other Ryan on the program.
Thank you.
Well, this just in, the SportsCenter, the SEC has released its upcoming football schedule. The matchups that stand out, how about this? Week 1, Georgia will face Clemson for the first time since 2014. Both teams expected to be in the preseason top 10. LSU heads west to take on UCLA at the Rose Bowl. The Tigers haven't played a Pac-12 road game since 2009 when they beat Washington. And how about this one? Auburn, they head to Happy Valley. 3rd week of the season to take on Penn State. The Tigers will be the first SEC team to play in State College since Alabama in 2011. Speaking of the defending national champs, they'll open up the season in Atlanta against Miami. It'll be the first meeting between the two schools since the 1993 Sugar Bowl when the Tide won the national title. And other few showdowns here of note here in the SEC. Alabama heads to Florida in a rematch for the 2020 SEC title game. Georgia visits Auburn in the oldest rivalry game in the South. And if it's the end of the season, it must be time for the Iron Bowl. Nick Saban meeting up with new Auburn coach Brian Harsin on November 27th. Nick Saban earlier today joined Greeny on ESPN Radio. And as expected, the man moved on to next season very quickly.
You're always thinking about what's up next. So when you ask me how I celebrated for, maybe one day, one night, and then you have all the issues that come with starting all over and trying to build your team for the next year, whether it's hiring staff, helping players, make decisions about where they're going to go and what they're going to do. So you really can't stop and smell the roses much, or somebody's going to pass you up in a hurry.
Still at the top here, Caesars William Hill thinks it'll be more of the same next season in the college football playoff. The sportsbook has Alabama as an early 3-1 favorite to win the national title next season.
Offensive lineman Chad Wheeler, who played 5 games for the Seahawks this past season, has been released from the team following his weekend arrest on suspicion of felony assault, domestic violence. He's accused of throwing a woman on a bed, strangling her before she lost consciousness, and picking the lock to a bathroom where she had fled to call 911. Wheeler apologized to the alleged victim in a series of tweets on Wednesday, acknowledging his role in the assault and vowing to get the help that he thinks he needs. The Seahawks released a statement strongly condemning Wheeler's actions while expressing support for the victim.
Coming up, stand by for an essential guide for Super Bowl 55. Daily Wager delivers the need-to-know advice for Bucs, Chiefs, and the must-see QB matchup. Plus, before the Lakers and Sixers tip off tonight on ESPN, inside the deciding factors for Embiid and Simmons against LeBron, AD, and the reigning champs. This is SportsCenter.
The job's not finished. When we went into the season, we weren't talking about going to the Super Bowl. We were talking about winning it again.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Have a chance to repeat and get to do it against the best. It's something special, and I'm excited for the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, get ready for the Super Bowl and get ready for the prop bets released today. Here's a look at some of the prop bets for Brady and Mahomes in the Pro Football Championship. Caesar Sportsbook by William Hill has the over-under at 2.5 touchdown passes for both quarterbacks, although the payout for the over on Brady is way higher. And we've been talking about Brady's deep ball all year. The over-under for his longest completion is currently set at 39.5 yards. Want to talk prop bets? Our friends from the Daily Wager join us with their own prop picks.
Welcome into the Las Vegas Strip alongside Joe Fortenbaugh. I am Doug Kazarian. Prop bets, always so fun. There's actually 28 different ways to bet Mahomes or Brady props. What stands out to you?
I'm going to bet that Tom Brady rushes for 1 yard because that's all I need to go over, and it's plus 140, so I like the value. He's the master of the sneak on 3rd and 1, on 4th and 1, catching the opposing defense out of position. He's actually averaging 3.3 rushing yards per Super Bowl appearance, which is nothing more than a fun fact. But I think Kansas City wins this game, so he's not going to be kneeling it down in the 4th. I'm going to go over half a rushing yard.
So yeah, kneel downs are minus, so it's net 1 yard. I'm going to go with Mahomes and his longest completion over 39.5 yards. And there's the standard throws, deep down the field, and then let the guys do the work, or even like a hitch. And you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, or Mecole Hardman. So with all those threats and Mahomes' arm and his passing yards prop is